morning, Margaret Rutherford wears the hat when Miss Marple takes up the cudgels on behalf of the accused in a murder trial. Murder Most Foul, tomorrow at 9:40 on BBC2.
Drama in the world of amateur dance. Happy Feet.
First in this section with 82 marks, number 3.
You're going to have to do better than that. Fancy showing off like that!
First in this section with 81 marks, number 4.
That Piper girl's got thick ankles.
First with 85 marks.
And I would like to remind all teachers that I am a great devotee of the Debbie playing.
Happy Feet. New Year's Day at 8:30 on BBC1.
On 2 now, John Elliott Gardner conducts Monteverdi's Vespers of the Virgin Mary, performed by the Monteverdi Choir in the matchless setting of St Mark's Basilica in Venice. Here on BBC1, we join Ralph Deller for a roundup of today's sports results in Final Score.
A very good afternoon to you. We might be at the start of a new year, but today's sporting headlines have a very familiar ring to them. John Barnes sets Liverpool on their way to a 3-0 win over Leeds, which keeps Liverpool firmly on top of the table. Alan Smith scores the goal that keeps Arsenal in second place, while David Platt ruins Crystal Palace's aspirations, scoring both of Aston Villa's goals in their 2-0 victory. And in the one-day cricket international in Sydney, yet another batting collapse sees England lose by 68 runs to Australia. We hit the self-destruct button again, said Graham Gooch. You see what I mean by nothing changing? Well, we'll have more details coming up in just a moment after the classified football results.
The Barclays League Division 1. Aston Villa 2, Crystal Palace 0. Chelsea 1, Everton 2. Derby County 1, Coventry City 1. Liverpool 3, Leeds United 0. Manchester City 0, Arsenal 1. Sheffield United 1, Queen's Park Rangers 0. Sunderland 1, Southampton 0. Tottenham Hotspur against Manchester United is a 5 o'clock kickoff. Wimbledon 2, Luton Town 0. Division 2, Barnsley 2, Bristol City 0. Bristol Rovers 0, West Ham United 1. Charlton Athletic 0, Blackburn Rovers 0. Leicester City 2, West Bromwich Albion 1. Middlesbrough 0, Sheffield Wednesday 2. Notts County 2, Brighton 1. Oldham Athletic 1, Newcastle United 1. Oxford United and Ipswich Town is an evening kick-off. Port Vale 0, Millwall 2. Portsmouth 5, Hull City 1. Swindon Town 1, Plymouth Argyle 1. Wolverhampton Wanderers 0, Watford 0. Division 3, Bolton Wanderers 4, Bournemouth 1. Bradford City 3, Bury 1. Brentford 3, Shrewsbury Town 0. Chester City's match against Reading is postponed. Exeter City 3, Crewe Alexandra 0. Grimsby Town 3, Fulham 0. Huddersfield Town 1, Wigan Athletic 0. Leyton Orient 0, Stoke City 2. Mansfield Town 1, Birmingham City 2. Preston North End 0, Cambridge United 2. Swansea City 5, Rotherham United 0. Tranmere Rovers 3, Southend United 1. Division 4, Burnley 1, Scunthorpe United 1. Carlisle United 1, Aldershot 2. Darlington 4, Cardiff City 1. Halifax Town 1, Hartlepool United 2. Hereford United 0, Torquay United 0. Lincoln City 0, Wrexham 0. Maidstone United 1, Chesterfield 0. Northampton Town 0, Doncaster Rovers 0. Stockport County against Gillingham, an evening kick-off. Walsall 0, Scarborough 0. York City 0, Blackpool 1. The Vauxhall Conference, Altrincham 5, Macclesfield Town 3. Barnet 1, Colchester United 3. Barrow 3, Gateshead 1. Boston United 1, Kettering Town 2. Cheltenham Town against Wycombe Wanderers is an evening kick-off. Fisher Athletic against Welling United, a match postponed. And Kidderminster Harriers and Merthyr Tydfil is an evening kick-off. Runcorn 3, Northwich Victoria 1. Slough Town 1, Sutton United 2. Telford United 0, Stafford Rangers 0. Yeovil Town 3, Bath City 2. The B&Q Scottish League Division 1, Dundee 2, Wraith Rovers 1. Forfar Athletic against Brecon City, match postponed, as was in Division 2, Alloa against Stenhousemuir.
Now, after Liverpool's defeat at Crystal Palace on Sunday, it was thought they might be just a little vulnerable against the in-form Leeds. Not a bit of it. Liverpool still at the top of the table and powering into the new year with a 3-0 victory, as we hear from Gerald Sinstadt.
Howard Wilkinson took care to preview this as just another game for 3 points. Definitely not a championship challenge match. And he was right. This new Leeds is still developing. They played some nice football today, usually with McAllister involved. It was unlucky here and there. Snowdin's shot from 30 yards vibrated the crossbar. Chapman's stab looked like rolling in until Nicholl scraped it off the line. But comparisons with Leeds of the 70s are very premature. The defence lived dangerously on the offside margins. Sterland suffered from an upbeat Barnes. Strachan couldn't find his touch. It was Barnes who gave Liverpool an early lead from Burrows' teasing cross. Rosenthal got the second in off a post and the goalkeeper, and Rush's late strike emphasised the total Liverpool superiority.
Well, Arsenal are hanging on to Liverpool, just a point behind still after a 1-0 win against Manchester City at Main Road. Barry Davis reports.
A smash-and-grab performance by Arsenal. They hit the crossbar through Winterburn with their only attack of the first half, scored from their first in the second, and almost stole 2 more goals with breaks that were breathtakingly impudent. The key, of course, was that they defended superbly, and that in spite of being forced to play the inexperienced Hillier for 2/3 of the contest after O'Leary was concussed. City had far more of the possession in a match which was razor-sharp in midfield, which was offered few created opportunities. Quinn had one of the best in the 20th minute, but his header went wide of the far post. The home side were on top then, but really looked like saving themselves after helping Arsenal to the decisive goal. It came in the 14th minute after Redmond needlessly gave away a corner. From it, Hillier and Thomas worked the ball to Smith, whose 13th goal of the season was struck from outside the right corner of the 6-yard box. 14 minutes of the second half had gone.
Crystal Palace stay third in the table, despite a 2-0 defeat by Aston Villa. From Villa Park, here's David Davis.
If, as Stevie Coppell insists, Palace are still learning First Division lessons, today's subject was how cruel life can be. For half an hour they ruled. Thomas and Andy Gray were a revelation. Wright and Bright scurried this way and that. A Palace goal seemed ever imminent. But at last Villa found inspiration from McGrath at the back and the sheer quality of Platt and Cowans going forward. So it was that 2 minutes into the second half, Cowan sent fullback Price racing into the area where poor Salako seemed to bring him down from behind, and Platt did the necessary. Battle was then joined with a new intensity. Villa's keeper Butler saved again with his legs. Jeff Thomas hit the woodwork, and 3 minutes from time, Platt went clear to rub in the agony as Palace pushed forward. The conquerors of Liverpool were back to earth with a bump.
Well, some other details from First Division matches today now. And Graham Sharp put Everton on their way to their first away league win of the season with the first goal in a 2-1 victory at Chelsea. Cyril Regis scored the equaliser for Coventry in the 1-1 draw at struggling Derby. Brian Dean, who scored the winning goals in Sheffield United's first 2 league wins of the season over Christmas, did it again today in the bottom of the table match with Queen's Park Rangers, for whom Roy Wegerle missed a penalty. No such problems for Kevin Ball, whose second half penalty handed Sunderland a much needed win over Southampton. And John Fashanu scored his 8th goal in 7 games to help Wimbledon to a 2-0 win at home to Luton Town. And all that means that at the bottom of Division 1, Sheffield United's third win in 4 matches helps their cause, but Rangers fall back a couple of places. Sunderland improved their position with that win over Southampton. Derby County drew with Coventry. At the top of Division 2, a Jimmy Quinn goal after 78 minutes gave West Ham that 1-0 victory at Bristol Rovers. They're now 5 points clear of Oldham, who needed a last-minute own goal by Mark Stimpson to earn them a point against Newcastle. David Hurst, the top scorer in the country, got his 20th goal this afternoon to put third-place Sheffield Wednesday on their way to a 2-0 victory over Middlesbrough, who slip a pace. And this morning's bottom 2, Portsmouth and Hull, met at Fratton Park. Martin Cool grabbed 2 for Portsmouth with their 5-1 victory, which lifts them up 3 places. Leicester City also helped their cause, beating West Brom 2-1, and Watford remain unbeaten under Steve Perriman after their 0-0 draw at Wolves. Now, who do you think this is? That's right, Tony Thomas, who scored the season's quickest league goal today. He took just 8 seconds to open the scoring for Tranmere in their 3-1 win over Southend. But Southend remain on top of Division 3, 3 points clear after that 3-1 defeat. Grimsby's win over Fulham keeps them clear in 2nd place. And at the bottom of Division 3, Rotherham, who were crushed by Swansea, are still 4 points adrift. Birmingham City beat Mansfield, and Shrewsbury went down 3-0 at Brentford. A full house at Northampton today for the visit of leaders Doncaster Rovers, but the match finished goalless. Doncaster stayed top, though, as 2nd place Torquay also drew today against goalless at Hereford. And Darlington's 4-0 victory over Cardiff lifts them into 3rd place. And at the bottom of Division 4, Lincoln's point from their goalless draw with Wrexham lifts them off the bottom of the table. Earlier today, Halifax's Steve Norris scored the first goal of 1991 in their 12 o'clock kick-off match against Hartlepool, but it was still a 2-1 defeat and a slip to the bottom of the Football League. Colchester's 3-1 win at Barnet sees them leapfrog over their opponents into 2nd place in the Vauxhall Conference. Kettering's 2-1 win at Boston extends their lead at the top to 10 points, and Barnet fall back to 3rd. And at the top of the Scottish Division 1, Dundee came from behind to win over Wraith and now puts them level on points with Falkirk at the top, just behind the leaders on goal difference. Now, in Rugby League, the leaders Hull lost this morning to Hull Kingston Rovers, so there was a chance for Widnes to go top if they could beat St Helens at Norton Park this afternoon. Well, we'll find out if they did by looking at the full Rugby League results.
Yes, 14-8 they did it, Ralph. The other results in the Stones Better Championship: Castleford 9, Bradford Northern 0. Hull Kingston Rovers 20, Hull 8. Leeds 28, Oldham 12. Widnes 14, St Helens 8. Wigan 6, Warrington 14.
Well, cricket next, and a sorry tale again from Sydney in the latest World Series Cup One-Day International. These were the scores as England lost to Australia by 68 runs, and that after containing Australia to a very manageable 221 for 7 in their 50 overs. Well, England made a promising start with Graham Gooch and Wayne Larkins putting on 65 for the first wicket before, in the 16th over, Gooch was out.
These days. Through Gooch with the off-cutter. That is a good delivery because Gooch was batting extremely well. And that's number 103 for Simon O'Donnell. Takes him exactly level with Dennis Lilly in one-day internationals.
Well, it's a great delivery from Simon O'Donnell. Look how it comes back. It surprises Graham Gooch. After he's bowled out, he mutters to himself because he's really disappointed with that delivery, although the Australians are absolutely delighted. It did move where most of the balls have been coming on quite true. Graham Gooch out for 37 and England are 1 for 65.
And it was downhill all the way after that. And some harsh words from Graham Gooch, who said, "We hit the self-destruct button again. I can't make excuses for it. We're playing some bad cricket. If I could wave a magic wand to solve our problems, I would." Now, you can see highlights, if there are any, on BBC2 tonight at 7:10 of that one-day international. And that follows the skiing from Garmisch. That's at 6:35, also on BBC2. Now, Richard Dunwoody, this season's leading national hunt jockey, was taken to hospital for precautionary x-rays of his back, neck and shoulders after falling at Cheltenham today. Dunwoody, who's got 72 winners already this season, had a crashing fall from David Nicholson's novice chaser, Mullock Bray, in the 120. So he couldn't take his place on Big Sun in the ASW handicap chase, and that was won by Seagram from Bonanza Boy, with the Langholm Dyer in third place. Now, tennis, and the new year started badly for the world number 2, Boris Becker, as he went down to a shock defeat to Sweden's Magnus Larsson in the first round of the Australian Hardcourt Championship in Adelaide. Now, plenty more sport coming up on BBC television this week, with Grandstand on Saturday, Match of the Day, all the thrills of the Cup. Bye-bye.
Waterfront Beat is back.
Ah, and how's Captain Morgan doing then? Sorry, sir? How's our swashbuckling daring do of the pirate trade? Said yourself he'd need time.
We can't carry passengers, Frank.
So now you want to do a Miami Vice and charge out after this latest raider, do you? Heavy drums and spray everywhere. How fast are these boats of his going?
The Boys on the Beat are back, tomorrow at 8 on BBC1.
In 15 minutes, Beverley's troubles look like turning into little ones in Neighbours. And that's after the news with Laurie Mayer at 5:10.
Good evening. Tonight's headlines. President Saddam Hussein visits his troops in Kuwait with a New Year message. He tells them to prepare for a hot confrontation against the infidel. The bill for sending British troops to the Gulf is already £480 million. President Saddam Hussein has been spending New Year's Day with his troops in Kuwait. He cooked meals for his men, ate with them and talked of the start of the hot confrontation. Earlier, he rejected an appeal from Egypt's President Mubarak to withdraw from Kuwait. The president warns